We're going to take some questions here from the press. BBC, James Cook.
Thanks very much indeed. Congratulations on the historic nature of your election victory. You have suggested during this campaign that it will be difficult to fill the shoes of Nicola Sturgeon as a politician of considerable stature. And yet on the central defining mission of your party, independence, ultimately, she failed. What makes you think you can succeed where she couldn't?
So first and foremost, I want to pay tribute again to Nicola Sturgeon because she has left us with a really strong foundation. And we will build upon that foundation. I will build upon that foundation. But it won't just be me. I'm going to build the team that's going to deliver independence. I've already spoken throughout this campaign of how much admiration I have for both the colleagues who joined me in this leadership contest. But I've also spoken about the array of talent in the parliaments, Scottish, Westminster Parliament, across local government, that will help to build that team that delivers independence. So it's thanks to Nicola Sturgeon, it's thanks to John Swinney, it's thanks to those strong foundations that they left us that we will go on to finish the job. Thanks, James. Colin Mackay, STV.
Congratulations. This has been a bruising contest for your party. The result shows just how divided it is. How do you start by uniting your party and then regaining the trust of the people of Scotland and a Scottish government?
Well, first and foremost, after I've spoken to the media, one of the first meetings I expect to have and would like to have will be with Kate and Ash, because it is important that the party comes together. I tried to stress that in my opening, in my remarks, that we are at our strongest as a party when we are united. And what unites us is the goal of delivering independence for Scotland. So, of course, election contests, by their nature, can be challenging. They can open up some divisions. But I've got no doubt, not just faith in myself, but I have absolute faith in my colleagues Ash and in Kate that we will come together. And there will be no Team Humza, there will be no Team Kate, there will be no Team Ash, there will be Team SNP. And it will be Team SNP that will deliver independence for our country. Kieran, Channel 4.
Congratulations. Does this outcome tell you that obviously a lot of people wanted your opponent to win, almost 48% of them offering quite a different approach? And you were the continuity candidate in this election. Does this result tell you that continuity won't cut it?
Well, I'm delighted to be standing here as the person that the majority of membership have put their faith in. But what I will do is, of course, reach across the divides that may well exist. I've always said, as much as I admire and respect Nicola, and I really do, I will be my own man. I will do leadership my own way. And one of those ways will be to have as big a tent as possible. And that includes, of course, the various different platforms that have been put forward by my colleagues. I want to speak to them as soon as I'm finished speaking to you, because we have to harness not just the talent, but the ideas that my colleagues have brought forward. So, as I've said to the other colleagues who have already asked questions, I don't view this as there being factions or teams. It's going to be one team that is going to deliver us independence. And in terms of the government, we are still, of course, the party that is more trusted than any other political party in Scotland. I'll not take that for granted. I'll not be complacent about that. But we have won the trust of the people of Scotland because we have delivered for them. And that is my aim, to continue to deliver for the people of Scotland. Conor. Just behind you.
Congratulations, first of all. The polls were suggesting throughout the contest that you, of the three candidates, were the most incompetent, weak and untrustworthy. How are you going to turn that around and not fail on the SNP's election-winning machine that it has been over the course of the last few years?
Well, I'm delighted to be part of that election-winning machine and being part of government for 10.5 years. But on top of that, of course, I'm delighted that when I've stood for election, I've been elected and re-elected with a big majority from the people of Glasgow Pollock, who I'd like to thank in putting their trust in me over the years. But what I'll make sure I do is I govern in the interest of the people of Scotland. But also, we win the trust of the people of Scotland when we govern and we align with their priorities. Their priorities have to be our priorities. And of course, they will look to us for delivery, and I will do my best to deliver what is their priorities. And at the moment, I don't have to tell anybody in this room that people are suffering from a cost of living crisis. That'll be my first and immediate priority, to try to help them in that regard. So I've got every confidence, not just in my own ability, but frankly in the ability of the exceptional SNP team that exists not just in the Scottish Parliament, as good and exceptional as my MSP colleagues are, but right across the parliaments and local government and our activist base too. Glenn Campbell.
Congratulations on being elected. How can you possibly hope to unite the country if you're still going to be pushing hard for independence?
Well, independence for me is a golden thread that runs through so many of our priority and policy areas. The reason why we can only mitigate the cost of living crisis is because it is a crisis that's inflicted by Westminster. We're doing so with one hand tied behind our backs. The reason why we can only invest in our public services as much as we can is because, again, our budget, our fixed budget, is controlled by a Westminster government. So while we will deliver the priorities of the people of Scotland, that will be to tackle the cost of living crisis. That will be to continue to invest in our public services, our NHS, of course, in particular. It will be to make progress on our well-being economy. That does not, we will do that in tandem with making the case for independence, because independence will unleash our country's true potential. PA, Craig.
Hello.
Ah, there we go.
The turnout in this election was only 70%, so 30% of SNP members didn't even see fit to vote. What are you going to do to engage them, and is there a worry at all that membership numbers could sink even further?
No, we'll be aiming to hopefully grow those membership numbers, and I hope people are inspired, not just by the contest and hopefully by the outcome as well. I hope people will join the SNP as the vehicle that will deliver independence for Scotland. In terms of the 70%, I think it's so important for not just me, but the team, the SNP team, to make sure we are putting the independent drive into fifth gear. Our members are inspired and will be inspired undoubtedly by the drive to independence. We inspire people not by getting stuck in a quagmire of process and talking about Section 30s and de facto referendums. They get inspired by talking about policy. And I've got, I hope, the skills and the ability to be able to inspire people with a vision for independence. I believe that will help us to increase our membership numbers, but also make sure all of our members are involved in that campaign. I think we have Stuart Graham from AFP. I think we've got some international media back. Yeah. There's a microphone coming to you.
I was just wondering, with independence, do you have a timeline of when you'd like to see that happen? And how would you convince those, you seem to be stuck on 45%, the SNP, the same figure as in 2014. Many people I speak to are not convinced about the economic plan the SNP has. How are you going to reassure those people and make them feel comfort that it's in their interest to vote for independence?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our colleagues in the Scottish media have been asking me this for 5 weeks' time, and I'll give you the same answer that I give them, which is, of course, process, while it is important. The key to gaining independence is ensuring we have that consistent majority support for independence. We have that settled will for independence. If we have that, the political obstacles that are put in our way by Westminster, well, they will disappear. So the concentration will be on kickstarting that civic-led, grassroots, people-led movement and growing consistent support for independence. And of course, the economic plan is absolutely key to that. So we have, of course, published papers already on that, but I think we've got more work absolutely to do to convince people. We wouldn't be standing here if that wasn't the case. So one of the first things I'll get on with doing, as well as governing and delivering and governing well, I hope, will also be to make sure we kickstart that independence movement. Maria, forgive me, from Al Jazeera. Nope. Okay, I'll keep going. We've got Alan Smith from Bauer.
Congratulations. In response to the question from Colin, you said in terms of uniting the party, speaking with both Kate and Ash, does that mean there'll be room around your cabinet table for both of your leadership rivals? And just secondly, in terms of the vote, just over 26,000 first and second preference votes means you become SNP leader, ultimately becoming First Minister. What do you say then in response to opposition parties who will claim that you have no mandate to govern and perhaps there should be an election?
So, look, I salute the fact that you've been asking me for weeks now, Alan, for exclusive on my cabinet. That is something, of course, that I'll be giving consideration to and announcing in due course. But I've never shied away from saying both Kate and Ash are not just exceptional talents within our party, but have clearly got a role to play, a continued role in Scottish public life. In terms of the mandate, of course, Parliament will have its say tomorrow. Although I am party leader at the moment, there will be a vote and there will be an opportunity for the opposition to put their candidate forward. It is not by coincidence or somehow good fortune that we are the largest party in that Scottish Parliament. It is down to the fact that the people of Scotland have given us that mandate, have put their trust in us. And tomorrow, as I say, I will be one of the nominees, certainly, to be First Minister of Scotland, and others will have their chance too. Jack from Global Radio.
Congratulations. You take over leader of the SNP at a time when there are a lot of question marks over the party's finances. There have been renewed reports over the weekend over accusations of quite murky financial dealings there. What are you going to do as leader to reassure the members of your party, but also the people in Scotland who are concerned about that, and to reassure them that this isn't an issue?
Well, again, I suspect I'll get up to speed very quickly on the financial health of the party. It's not something I've obviously been involved in, not holding an office-bearer position within the party. But what I would say is that our party will be transparent in terms of the finances. And of course, I couldn't comment on what is a current live investigation either, but I suspect it will be one of the very first conversations I have as party leader to understand the financial health of the SNP. We'll go to some print colleagues as well. Paul, at the Daily Record.
Hi there. You're going to lead a government that is struggling on a range of fronts. Your party is under police investigation over its finances, and the chief executive resigned after lies were told about membership numbers. So haven't you got the worst job in Scottish politics?
I've got the best job in Scottish politics, by far. The honour and the privilege of not just leading the SNP, but potentially being Scotland's next First Minister. I inherit a party that is the most popular in Scotland by quite some distance. I inherit a party that has the largest membership by quite some considerable distance. I have inherited a leader, the government, that has a record of achievement that would be the envy of any other government, not just across these islands, but in many other parts of the world too. Are there challenges? You betcha. In government, there always are. I've been in government for 10.5 years. I've never been in a portfolio and never seen a portfolio where there aren't challenges. But that is why we step up. We step up to lead, and I hope by governing well, we will also lead people to independence. The Sun, Rachel.
Thank you. Just on, you have said that you want to unite Scotland on this, but then you, in the hustings, you spoke a lot about independence referendum. You were asked questions about 5 years, for example. Would Scotland be independence within 5 years? You said you want to govern for all Scotland and represent everyone, no matter their political beliefs. How do you square that? Are you not just going to be as divisive as Nicola Sturgeon felt she was when she left?
Well, again, Nicola Sturgeon enjoyed huge amounts of support. Her leadership through the COVID pandemic, in particular, saw so many people who told me, certainly, on the doorsteps that they wouldn't even have been contemplated voting for the SNP, but it's the leadership that she showed during that period. And so too must I and the government that I lead. We must show leadership. We must deliver for the priorities of the people of Scotland. I've already outlined what I think those priorities are. If we do that, then we win the trust of people. If we win the trust of people, they will undoubtedly be persuaded by our message on independence. So we can do both. We can both campaign for independence. I don't think anybody would expect the leader of the SNP to say anything other than that. But we can also make sure that we deliver rightly for the people of Scotland and their priorities too. We've got the National. Abby.
Hi there. Hi, Humza, congratulations. Just wanted to ask a quick couple of questions. So obviously everything goes well tomorrow. Hi, I'm over here. Obviously everything goes well tomorrow. You will be First Minister. So what is the first thing you're going to do to bring Scotland closer to independence? And obviously you'd done an interview with our newspaper during the campaign trail, and you said that your cabinet, which I know you said you didn't want to give away today, that you would appoint a Minister for Independence. So just wondering if you had made any decisions on that yet.
I will stick to those commitments that I made, of course, during the campaign trail. And for me, one of the first things I want to do is see how we kickstart that civic-led campaign for independence. It's got to be a grassroots-led. It can't just be political leaders sitting in a room devising strategies on the way forward. As important as the leadership is of those who belong in the independence movement, it's got to be a civic-led, people-led movement that drives forward the campaign for independence. In terms of cabinet ministerial appointments, of course, I'll make them known in due course. Daily Mail, Michael Blackley.
Hi, hello. In terms of two issues that have divided the country, you talk about reaching out to non-yes voters. Two of the key issues have been the continued push for independence, which you've talked quite substantially about today. Will you continue to use public money and civil service time drawing up the prospectus for independence? And on the GRR bill, will you be challenging the UK government's Section 35 order?
So generally, I think when a party wins an election, and as thoroughly as the SNP has, it has every right, of course, to make sure it makes good on the promises in its manifesto, and we will do that. And of course, the civil service will help us to deliver on all of our manifesto, which includes, of course, independence. We won the election quite comprehensively in 2021. So just as the UK government have the right to use their civil service to pursue their ambitions around the Constitution, it should be no surprise that we will work with the civil service to do the same for independence. In terms of the GRR bill, I've made my position absolutely clear on the Section 35. I see it as a veto, as a power grab by the UK government. I don't think they have any right to have used that Section 35 power, given that the majority of Holyrood, of course, backed the GRR bill. So, of course, my first principle, my starting principle, is to challenge that Section 35 order. Peter, I've been waiting very patiently from ITV Borders. There's a microphone coming to Peter here. Or you can project if you wish. Is there a microphone coming?
I hope this is worth waiting for.
So do I.
When you were in Dumfries in March campaigning, you said we should plant our flag in the ground right here to let people know that they are not forgotten, people in the southwest and south of Scotland. And secondly, that we intend to persuade every single person of the merits of independence. That's why I want to start the campaign for independence right here. So firstly, how do you persuade people in the south of Scotland that they haven't been forgotten? And secondly, when will you be going to Dumfries to launch your campaign?
Very soon, because I believe that the only way we win our independence is persuading those, of course, who voted no and are still not persuaded by the case for independence. And therefore, we have to take the case to not just Dumfries and Galloway, to the borders, to the south of Scotland. And we do that, again, by governing well. We make sure that there are opportunities for people in the south of Scotland. We make sure we invest in the infrastructure in the south of Scotland. We make sure we support the well-being economy of the south of Scotland. And we do that by governing and governing well. Forgive me, I've just been told minutes ago that I'm leader of the SNP. I'll need to check the diary, but I'll be getting to Dumfriesshire as soon as I possibly can. I'll need to leave it there.